I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back. Now I'm caught in the middle of life, and I need
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host and your friend, Rashid, and here's my guy, the Robin Hood of Wall Street, Gregory Mannarino. How is it going, my friend?
It's going pretty well, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate being here, and we're gonna have fun.
Greg, I got some of your stuff that you send to all of your subscribers and stuff, and I was watching you live, and you were talking about the situation with the Fed, and you were talking about how Trump is turning out to be the best friend of the Fed, and how he was talking about taking on the Fed, and now he is strengthening the Fed and giving it the most power that it has ever had. Could you elaborate and go into that?
Sure. Prior to the presidential selection here, I told everyone then that this would happen. Whoever was selected as president would be the best friend to the Federal Reserve. And that's exactly what is happening here. Every executive order that the president has signed, every action that he has taken is further empowering the Federal Reserve, along with his. This is just the biggest joke on the face of the earth, man. And this Michelle Bowman, President Trump's now pick for the Federal Reserve watchdog. Now, I urge people to do their own research all the time. Go to the Federal Reserve's own website, and she does a talk about how pro-Fed she is. 100% all for the Federal Reserve policies, deregulation of the banks. It's an incredible thing to see. Why would it be that President Trump would choose Fed Governor Michelle Bowman, 100% pro-Fed right now, to be the watchdog of the Federal Reserve? Obviously, she approves of everything that the Federal Reserve is doing right now. So this is a person that we should be utilizing as a watchdog over the Federal Reserve? You got to be kidding me, man. It's like, again, having the fox in charge of the henhouse. You can't make it up. The executive orders that President Trump has signed as of late, allowing cryptocurrencies now access to the Federal Reserve's national banking system. Look, what people don't seem to understand is this is a gift to the Federal Reserve. Look, the dollar is being phased out. The dollar is losing its status on the world stage. The United States is being erased. And you can see this a lot. It's right in our face with regard to the action of the U.S. dollar. What's going on here? You're not seeing any knee-jerk into the so-called safety play, which is the U.S. dollar. Come on, man. It's so obvious, and we're rapidly moving down a rat hole of again the United States becoming insignificant on the world stage. It's unfortunate, but it almost seems like it is obviously 100% deliberate. And it's about instituting a new system. You and I have been speaking about this for a very, very long time. They got to take down the current system first and create a crisis. And this is exactly what they're doing now. War, expanding war. It's insanity on a massive scale. If you recall, and I know you do, that we had during the run-up to the presidential selection, President Trump, anti-war, the peace president, we're going to end all wars. Now we're in a new war. And this war in Yemen is rapidly expanding. It has nothing to do, zero, with stopping terrorism. Could you believe they're utilizing one of the oldest tricks in the book here? Again, this is to stop terrorism and to free up the shipping lanes. No, this mechanism here is to vastly inflate the debt, which, of course, again, another mechanism to empower the Federal Reserve and suck wealth right out of the middle class by destroying the purchasing power of the currency and the economy. It's a wealth transfer mechanism. That's all it is, unfortunately. And the timing of this is impeccable, as the stock market has been pretty much free falling over the past several 2 months now. President Trump jumps in here. Oh, we need to do this because we got to stop terrorism. You got to be kidding me. It has nothing to do with it. But people are being duped, as they usually are. Through the whole campaign, they were duped. They're being duped again, and people are falling again right through the trapdoors that are being set for them. And it's not going to stop. We are going to see again, if the stock market continues to get hit, you're going to see more war. More war is a mechanism to allow the Fed to inflate, devaluing the dollar, pumping more debt into the system, could potentially, and this is what it's being utilized for, buoy the stock market. It's floating on oceans of debt, and those oceans of debt are about to get much deeper.
Now you said more war. Could what we're seeing right now be a byproduct of that? What we're seeing with the bombing of the Houthis, and also allowing Israel to bomb Gaza, killing over 400 citizens?
Yeah, of course it is. The whole thing. I've been telling people that we're going to see more war. It's not going to stop. All the talk to the contrary is just a way to keep the people duped. War, the buildup to war, the act of war generates a greater need for borrowed dollars, cash pulled into the system. Again, we don't have it. It has to be created out of nothing by central banks, in this case, the Federal Reserve. This mechanism here is to allow the Fed to continue to inflate, to fulfill their goal, to own it all. I've been telling people this for 10 years. It's not going to stop. The people, again, not the people that follow our work, I think because they're well versed in this, are able to see what's happening, but most people have no idea. We are seeing a very interesting phenomenon occur. I believe that here in the United States and around the world, it's a form of apocalyptic extremism that is going to push the world towards more war, meaning more death, more pain, more suffering. At the same time, this is going to allow central banks to fulfill their goal, to own it all, to issue their product to the world. It's a crazy phenomenon. People have been psyoped, brainwashed, twisted. They have no idea which way is upside down, backwards, or sideways anymore. And unfortunately, this is a mechanism, I think, none of it's by accident. It's clearly all by design, all following a script. And things are going to get much worse faster moving forward. I can't hear you.
We're having
There you go.
technical difficulties. We're just we had bad weather down here, and we're having technical difficulties, a little storm. So I'm sorry, Greg. But
No, it's okay, man. It
again,
happens.
who
knows what's really going on.
ask you because you and I both. Okay. No president is elected. They're all selected. And I want to play something for you, and then I want your take on it, because you have so many people believing that Trump is this independent character. But I want to play something from Jeffrey Sachs. Let's see.
There's a wonderful, my wife doesn't like me to use that word when I refer to President Putin's statements.
Hold on, everybody. We're having technical difficulties. Hold on. There we are.
There's a wonderful,
I don't know. This may be
wonderful. My wife doesn't like me to use that word when I refer to President Putin's statements. I will say just very accurate. And that is in an interview that President Putin gave to Le Figaro in 2017. He has an observation which I found very astute or very accurate. He said, I've dealt with 3 presidents now. He says they come to office with ideas, but then soon enough, the men in dark suits and blue ties show up and tell them the way the world really is. And that is why things continue as they are, essentially, no matter who is in office. And I think that there is a great deal of truth to that. When I look at foreign policy from Clinton, who was a Democrat, it's the economy, stupid. But he was the one that initiated the NATO enlargement. He was the one that bombed
1992,
bombed Serbia in 1999 for 78 straight days. Then George W. Bush Jr., who had the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and who further enlarged NATO and then committed NATO to expand to include Ukraine and Georgia. Then Obama, the man of peace, the man who won the Nobel Peace Prize right at the start. And then he signs the order for the overthrow of the Syrian government. He invokes NATO to overthrow the Libyan government. He sends Victoria Nuland to overthrow the Ukrainian government. Well, you know, come on. This is not proper behavior or in line with the public perceptions and precepts. Then Trump, well, he continues the arming of Ukraine. He, of course, doubles down on Israel in the Israel-Palestine disaster and tragedy, making things work. He rejects a peace agreement with Iran, which would have denuclearized Iran in return for dropping U.S. sanctions. So he leaves the world less safe. Then Biden, who's supposedly the opposite of Trump, comes in. And what does he do? He refuses to negotiate with Russia. He relishes the Ukraine wars leading to Finland and Sweden joining NATO. He continues to pledge, at disastrous cost to Ukraine, by the way, that NATO will enlarge to Ukraine. It leads to ongoing war. It leads to destruction of Ukraine. It leads to the impossibility of a peace agreement. And that's Biden's policy. So that's 5 presidents in a row that I think have made me much less safe than we were in 1992, when the Russians had just become independent and said, we want to be friends with you. And the United States said, well, that's fine. Get in line and, respect us, because we're going to run the show now. And this is essentially our circumstance. We are more in danger, but every president, supposedly left or right, basically has listened to the men in the dark suits and blue ties.
Yep.
So what do you think about that, Greg? Because so many people are fooled thinking that Biden is this and Trump is that, and vice versa.
Look, man, there's no money in peace. There's no money in life. There's money in death, pain, suffering, and war. I mean, man, look, people were duped. They refused to believe it. They continually fall through the trapdoors that are set for them. And I told people again during the entire run up to the presidential selection that we were going to see more war, more pain, more suffering, and vast debt expansion. I've been explaining to people forever, it seems to me, that we are going to experience a whole new set of rules and a whole new paradigm. And along with that is vast debt expansion, allowing central banks who run it all. These are the guys in the suits that the guys talk about. These are the guys and girls who run it all. It's not presidents, kings, queens, dictators, or monarchs. It's all a lie. And presidents are given a script to tell the people every day, henceforth, why their use of teleprompters. You notice President Trump, or all these presidents, they look here, then they look there. during their speeches, again, they're told what to say. This is what I'm being told to say today. Okay, that one says this. Let me say that. That one says this. So you and me, we're sitting here talking just out of the top of our heads. There's no one dictating rules to us here. We're being led down the same pathway that we've been on here. It's going to lead to the destruction and a complete extinction level event of the middle class. They're being erased, and the psyop, the deceptions, as I've been warning people about, as the Bible has been warning us about for thousands of years. People are unable to see what's so evident in their face, what's happening here. They don't understand the lies, where they come from, and then there's no accountability. And this is what we're leading ourselves to, our own destruction. We've been told this. We've all been foretold, man. And people just still, they don't get it. Unfortunately, that's what's going. Look, it ain't gonna stop. If anyone believes that there's any of what we're seeing here is just by accident or just a coincidence or a comedy of errors as to why the world economy is being systematically destroyed, at the same time the rich are getting richer and richer, that anyone believes that this is really just by chance that this happened? No. And this mechanism is going to get much worse. We're going to see much more pain, much more suffering, many, many more people die moving forward. War is where it's at. There's more money in war than any other endeavor. It creates a greater need for cash, borrowed cash, than any other endeavor. That's why it's going to continue. This is the message I've been trying to tell people forever. It's just not going to stop. President Trump is not the president of peace. And the words that come out of his mouth tell us exactly who he serves. Okay, and it ain't anyone on this earth, man. It's coming from a very dark place, and it's the truth. But people have been so indoctrinated, so blind, they can't see it. And then when you shed a little light on it, like we're going to see with this particular video, you're going to see a lot of anger. You're going to see when people live in darkness. 99% of the people do. Unfortunately, it's very few of us who are able to see it. But a little bit of light blinds these people, and what they do is they attack the message when they can't attack the messenger like you or me. Okay, they attack the message, and that's what I see a lot going on my particular blog as of late. I think there's a campaign going on against people like you and I. They are going to attempt to discredit us via any mechanism that they could come up with, because truth is the enemy here.
Well, Greg, more about the markets. Where are we headed? Because the debt level continues to grow. The manipulation of the markets continue at an unprecedented scale. And as you said, the poor are getting poor and the richer are getting richer. Where are we in all of this?
Man, they're working very hard to prop up the market via debt expansion. That's really what this is all about. This market has been falling and falling and falling and falling. They need a way to, again, try to prop it up, and they're going to expand the debt. There's no other better way to do this than expanding war. War will create, again, what people are not prepared for. Look, people thought that Doge was going to save all this cash. When people actually see what's going to happen to debts and deficits here in the United States, maybe that'll wake them up, but I don't think so. People, again, not the people that follow our work, bro. I get that. But the vast majority of people have been lulled into some kind of a delusion. And I don't know what it's going to take to snap them out of it. I think they've been possessed, or maybe dispossessed, or actually possessed by some kind of demonic evil force. And they can't discern anymore what are truths and lies. And that scares me the most here, because, again, it's some type of apocalyptic extremism that has taken over the United States and the world and is putting man against his brother right now. And this is going to lead to the death of millions. Millions are going to die. This is not, again, an event that is happening by chance. In my opinion, I think we're being thrust into this, and these people with this apocalyptic kind of take on things are looking to try to foster it. I'm not saying that these people can change God's plan. It can't happen. but the people are pushing towards and actually want to participate in what they believe is the end times. And actually, if they have the any kind of say so in it, they want to foster it. So they want to see more war. They are looking for reasons, and maybe even a world leader that's going to try to sell them things. Like, for example, this is about terrorism. This is about freedom of the navigation. It has nothing to do with it. It's about debt expansion. It's about a destruction of the economy. It's about a wipeout of the middle class and a mechanism to prop up the stock market, period. That's really what it's all about.
And I know you often say that most people don't get it. The empire must expand the debt, because the moment that it stops expanding, boom goes the dynamite. That's it. Why do you think it's so hard for people to understand that the reason that the Western nation or the United States continues to find an enemy here is because she needs the resources? She needs to put more people under the debt burden so that the empire can continue to live.
I think it's fear. I think if a lot of people would have faced what the facts actually are, people, you see, look, here's the thing. People are kept in a particular situation. They're struggling right now. People can't survive. And they're being forced to constantly work to make ends meet. They can't focus on things. And again, just to go back to that, the flurry of executive orders here by President Trump is a mechanism of deception and distraction. People can't even keep up with what's happening here. And every day it's something new. Look over here, everyone. Look here. Look what President Trump just signed here, the auto pen order or whatever it might be. Again, look there. Don't focus on what else is happening. It's deception. It's devilism on a scale that I've never seen in my entire nearly 60 years of life, bro. And it's frightening to see. And it's the minority. It's not the majority of people. It's the minority here that are thrusting us all into a place that is extremely dark. And with regard to controlling the world or controlling all you need is a few people in positions of power. Like, for example, President Trump and the people he selected, like Bowman, for example, his Federal Reserve watchdog. You can't make this stuff up. You need these kind of people in place, and it doesn't matter. Now you have the minority here, which is going to lead the majority into massive suffering, again, on a scale that people can't believe. And that's unfortunately where we're going. And this is not by accident. Again, what it looks like to me is a deliberate destruction of this only to extort control. To me, I look at this and I say, what are they looking to do? They're looking to extort control out of people, and again, put power in the hands of fewer and fewer and fewer people. And that means that the masses must be disenfranchised. That's how I look at it.
Okay, we're having problems here. Okay, here we are right here. Greg, you said something very important. I was talking about this on three of my last podcasts, something very important about the people that Trump selected to certain positions. And I was telling people that this is being done deliberately as to make sure you have people that go along with your policies, just in case the worst breaks out, just in case there's mass rioting in the streets. You become more dictatorial by putting these people, so you don't have to worry about anybody challenging your rule. Because remember, one of the main hiccups from Trump is that in his first term, he was mad that he believed that some of the people he appointed betrayed him. And now he has put people in key positions that have the same policy objective as he has. And as you said, they need war or else everything gets exposed. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it goes back to how we started off. It's this extremist mentality here. And I mean, Trump, look, man, he feels like he does not need to answer to anyone, and he believes that he has the majority of the people behind him, which is not actually true. It's a minority of people, but just enough to, again, push the agenda moving forward. I don't believe people believe and we're seeing this. We're seeing a lot of people who we're 100% pro whatever Trump wants to do. Not saying, hold on a minute, we have a problem. We're still seeing inflation skyrocket. We haven't seen anything yet. We haven't seen an end to wars, which all this was supposed to end on day one. We're seeing policies being put in place to isolate the United States, to disconnect the United States from the world community. We cannot survive as an entity among ourselves. The United States aligning itself outside of what are the, I would say, norms of other developed nations here, alignments are being set up that maybe people should start to question. And these policies that are being put in place here are economically massively destructive. We don't have a single policy in place right now, not one, that is going to help the U.S. economy moving forward. Again, the fact, I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing. President Trump right now is looking for coalition partners for this new war in Yemen. Who are our allies? A lot of people think NATO is going to step up here. I don't see that happening here. I really don't. I don't know honestly who are our allies anymore. Trump has managed to isolate the United States. You have to wonder, or isolate the United States and align the United States with nations who have been historically hostile to the United States. It's kind of an interesting concept here, and I don't think it's going to end up playing out very well. So all of these threats of tariffs and everything, we're going to pay for it all again. This is a tax on all of us here. President Trump is still trying to sell the lie that it's governments that pay the tariffs. It's not governments that pay the tariffs. The tariffs are paid by importers and exporters, and those costs are passed on to the people. But it's an incredible thing how people, you see, President Trump never explained this to anyone, that it is not governments. Oh, Canada is going to pay for this. Mexico is going to pay for this. This nation is going to pay for that. Europe is going to pay for this. UK. No, it is a complete falsehood. But again, if people aren't told the truth, then they assume that it is the nations and the nations are paying for it. It's not. It's a tax on the people, and the fact of the matter is that more that this progresses, other nations are going to look for other ways or other trading partners. People don't understand that the United States is no longer the economic engine of the world. It's all going east. So there's a big problem here. We have multiple problems at multiple levels here, but not a single policy that President Trump has put forth so far is first of all, it's not sustainable. And second of all, it's not doing anything to help the people. As a matter of fact, I would say the polar opposite. The people here, I already said about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 now, in 6 months, the United States economy is going to be unrecognizable from where it is right now. And we're already seeing some dynamics here in the market that prove that. You got junk bond yields, the spread is widening. This is a clear sign that the economy is coming apart and coming apart faster. We have the dollar here that is not reacting as the safe haven that it used to be. It's an incredible thing to witness here. But again, is President Trump talking about that? No. Well, you do hear him talk about how we need a weaker dollar. And people, are they nuts? How does a weaker dollar help them? Really? You want to lose more purchasing power? It helps the corporate agenda, because these corporations that trade overseas, they could take advantage of the exchange rate. It does help fulfill the corporate agenda and the agenda of the Federal Reserve. They weaken the dollar. That means they need to create more dollars out of thin air to make up the difference. I mean, people just don't get it, bro. They don't get it.
And so we're moving into this deep state of fascism, you think, because you said that the corporations are the ones that are benefiting the most. How do you think that Trump is able to sell this to the masses of the people, though? Because you just said that he hasn't instituted one policy that is in place or that will be in place to strengthen and help the economy.
No, it's really the truth. People are just brainwashed here. They see him do a couple of things here. For example, close the borders, secure the borders. This is a good thing. Okay, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. And they keep pointing over there, but they stop looking. They don't pay attention to what's happening. Again, there are some people who believe that President Trump is some kind of demigod. He's taken on the role of Jesus Christ in some ways. People do believe this. I hear from people every day, Greg, you don't understand what's actually happening. Trump is acting as the hand of God. He is doing this here. I've actually had people write to me that they believe that Trump is the second coming of Christ. I've had this written to me multiple times. And I say to these people, your faith is in the wrong place here, because the lies that come out of his mouth do not come from the Almighty or from Jesus Christ. They are coming from the devil. It's a devilism. And they again, there are people, look, they've been forewarned. That's what I see. They're entitled to their own opinion on this. But again, I don't see this as playing out very well.
Well, what do you think? You were talking about in a few months, the U.S. economy will look drastically different. In what way will it look drastically different? And when it looks drastically different, will America be in a position to try to dominate the world financially and militarily?
Well, of course, they're going to use war. The United States does have a very powerful military here, and I think they're going to utilize it as a weapon against the world, almost like a cornered animal, I guess, in some ways here. But the world will rein the United States in some ways. I believe that's going to happen here. This is a Hitlerism in some ways that we're seeing. It's an incredible thing. With the world to the economy here, look, the cost of living is going to skyrocket. It can't be stopped. There's not a single President Trump has not put up a single roadblock to support the purchasing power of the dollar. As a matter of fact, this expanding war and currency devaluation on the back of artificially suppressed rates is going to play out much further and faster moving forward. The purchasing power of the currency is a wrecking machine for the economy. The loss of purchasing power on the back of artificially suppressed rates, should I say, is a wrecking machine for the economy. It's a wrecking machine for the middle class. So we can expect the cost of living to rise. Not only that, we could potentially see dramatic supply chain disruptions moving forward, scarcity of resources, which we're eventually going to face. We're going to face a moment in time of where resources, basic needs that people are going to need to survive, are going to be not available. And the bigger issue is, again, they're moving us to a climax. The climax is going to require some type of major event that they can point at to say, okay, everyone, the financial system has now ground to a halt, because that's what we're going towards here, a locking up of the system, where we're going to see the flow of credit or the flow of debt stop flowing through the global economy at one point. This could be very soon. And then they're going to say, hold on a minute here now, people. We have a solution for you. That's why we're being bridged into this crypto system. What are we doing? We're adding cryptocurrencies to the U.S. Strategic Reserve. We're not adding gold. We're not adding silver. We're being told that they're going to do it in order on the Fort Knox. The gold is not there. We've heard Musk say it. We've heard Trump say it. But where's the rush for these people to go check it out? I think the grandest theft in the history of the world is going on right now. If there is no gold, it's because President Trump and Elon Musk have stolen it. They are the ones that are redistributing this gold. Maybe it's going to Russia. I don't know where it's going, but I can say if the gold is not there, because again, if President Trump and Elon Musk actually believed what they say, they'd be going over there today. They would have gone over there weeks ago, but they're not doing that. I believe there's a grand theft going on. And if in fact the gold is not there, Trump and Elon stole it.
So what does that mean for the economy? Because without any gold, there's no hedge against inflation. And with the economy that is in a downward spiral, that means total devastation for not just the American nation, but for the average consumer also.
Okay, well, of course, everyone loses. That's where you have to really wonder why it is that we're not adding gold or silver to a strategic reserve. Why are we adding cryptocurrencies? You have to understand, and you know this, we're being bridged into a new system. They're going to take down this system. We're going to a fully tokenized system. Everything is going to be reduced to a token, a cashless system across the world. We already almost have a cashless system. And that's what is going on. That's why we're seeing the deregulation of the banks. They don't want any regulations. Why Fed Governor Michelle Bowman was chosen here, 100% pro-Fed, chosen by President Trump to be the watchdog here. She's all about bank deregulation. She's 100% pro-Fed. If people can't see what's happening right now, Rashid, they will never, ever get it. And even at the very end, they still will not believe it's happening. I don't know, man. I think there's a natural selection going on. Like I've been telling people for a very, very long time, that there's a natural selection going on. People like you, people like myself, people that follow our work, we're able to see it. Many can't, unfortunately.
And so that goes back to what you always say, that when this thing goes down, it's going to be biblical. The loss of life, it will be worse than a nuclear bomb exploding, right?
I believe it will. There's going to be pandemonium in the streets. Why? I mean, there's a reason why people here in the United States have been so divided. They can't come together. It's hatred. Hatred has been fostered. Separation. Instead of unity and love, we have separation and hatred. And that's because they want people to murder each other. That's what's going to happen once the system locks up, and it will. Okay, we're going to this mechanism here is leading us to what was actually going on at the financial crisis, was the locking up of the system. The credit markets were freezing up, and they're inflating the debt right now here by any mechanism they could come up. And I've been telling people, I've been saying, you're going to see things you're not going to believe, things you can't even imagine, as a mechanism to foster more debt to be pulled into the system, and war is their number one way to do it here. They're continuing to fuel the debt bomb, or credit, however you want to look at it here. When this goes off, the system's going to lock up. What that means is transactions stop. You can't swipe your credit card. You can't swipe your debit card. There's no cash in the banks. Resources will be non-existent. People are going to be scrambling in the streets at each other. There will obviously be martial law declared, absolute control over the people at that point. That's really what this is all about extorting control out of the people. It's biblical, and it's global, obviously.
So wouldn't it be lunacy for the United States, especially for Trump, excuse me, and his administration, because I know he put a lot of China hawks in his administration. Isn't it lunacy and almost suicidal to then want to wage war with a nation that buys your debt, a nation that provides most of all of the products on your stores? Because in the event of war, as America is trying to move her military to all of the choke points, she will eventually be choked off, because all China has to do is embargo. And if China embargoes her, then within a week or two, there's nothing on the shelves.
Within the day. When the system locks up, everything's going to be cleaned out. There's going to be pandemonium in the streets. This is what they're pushing us towards, pandemonium in the streets. There's so much uncertainty going on right now, but I think, people, that's because people don't know. They're unable to put together what the common denominators are, and that right now is again, it's the collective effort of central banks working with respective leaders who are nothing but puppets to foster their full control of the planet. Central banks have only one goal, and that is to own it all, to have a world population directly under their control. And that's what they have right now. That's why leaders are selected, very divisive kind of characters here. Those who are pushing a particular agenda, not talking about unification, not talking about love and caring about each other, but the polar opposite. And this is why I've been, it just kind of hit me the other day. Like, what we're seeing here is comes back to how we started off. This extremist view, which invariably leads to war. This view that, let's say, for example, one group of people is superior to another because of the way that they think, their ideology. And you're not allowed to think outside the box. You can only think one particular way. And this goes back to, this is as old as time itself here, because of maybe with the way a person looks. They look different than you, so they are your enemy here. You must hate these people. They're inferior to you, so they treat them like animals, treat them like dogs. Don't worry about the fallout because you are a superior being. This is what we're seeing here right now in the United States, and again, this agenda of division and hatred is going to play on the minds of many people. Are going to be convinced that is what needs to be done here, as almost like a cleansing. Nazism, really, in many ways here to support, let's say, a master race. A lot of people believe that already. Here in the United States, they've adopted that kind of mentality. I hear from them every day, and you probably do too, on your blog, that this needs to happen because there are people that are inferior. There are particular people because of their belief system, they don't deserve to live. I mean, that's really what's happening. And day or two ago, I started, I always look through my comments. I don't know if you do, but I look through them for the most part, and I try to get into people's heads. What are they thinking? And I see a particular pattern going on, not for the most part, but there are some, and I don't know if this is a deliberate infiltration of my particular blog, but a particular mentality that is along that extremist view of, okay, it doesn't matter what we do here because these people don't deserve to live anyway. These people don't deserve to be in our nation. These people don't deserve this. They don't deserve that for whatever reason. And it really follows the mentality, I believe, of our current president, who is fostering this this kind of mentality here. It's kind of interesting to see and frightening at the same time.
Well, Greg, recently in the markets, what is going on? What has been going on in the markets in the past week or so that give you more? And I've been reading your stuff, so I already know a lot of the stuff that you were talking about. But what has led you to believe that things are breaking down much, much faster and that it is worse than what we thought it would be?
Well, there's a bunch of factors that are in play here. With regard to the world financial system, it's running out of it's running dry. Liquidity is drying up. I've been trying to warn people and tell people this for I don't know how freaking long here, and because of that, they have to find reasons to pull more cash into the system. And war, again, here we go, bringing us back to why we're seeing what we're seeing now. Again, nothing to do with fighting terrorism. I can't believe they're using that one again, or freeing up, shipping lanes or whatever it might be. No, it's a mechanism to pull more. This system is insolvent. I don't know another way to tell people this, and they just don't get it. I swear to you. I know you do. I know the people that follow your work do, but the mechanism here demands that more debt be pulled into the system, and it can't stop. Henceforth, why more war? Why I was telling people during the run-up to the presidential selection that whoever they selected would be the best friend of the Federal Reserve, and we'd see more war. Was one of the things we were going to see. They have to utilize this against the people and sell it to people, package it up and sell it to people however they can. And that's what they're going to do here. So expect anything here. Expect terror attacks. Expect false flag events. Because the system again is running dry. Like, even though it's a crazy paradox, and I try to tell people what we're seeing here is a situation where the world appears to be debt saturated, but the issue is no matter how much debt they pull into the system, even right now with war, the black hole that sucks it all down can never be filled. They have to find another way to do it, to continue to fuel the system with more debt, because that's how the system works. It's debt-based. We do not have a wealth-based system. We could change this in a minute here. I mean, honestly, I've been telling people that President Trump if he really wanted to end the Fed, he could do it with the stroke of a pen. The Gold Reserve Act of 1934 exists for this reason. President Trump could today monetize gold, revalue it at whatever he sees fit, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 an ounce, which is probably about where we would need to be. Back the dollar with that gold, we fix the system. We go from a debt-based system to a wealth-based system. But that's not what's happening. What President Trump is doing here is making sure the Fed is vastly stronger than it is now. And I'm telling people right now, just like I told them during Trump's last tenure, because you remember everyone was, Trump's going to end the Fed, he's going to end the Fed. Last one, I laughed at them all. And of course, they laughed at me saying I was wrong. Well, guess who turned out to be the right person that was right? You and me, right? But again, that's what's going to happen here too. Everything right now is being utilized to empower the central banks of the world as world leaders. You don't hear anything. You don't hear one of them talking about how we need higher rates to give some purchasing power back to the currency and empower the people. That's not what we're hearing. We're hearing and we're seeing central banks cutting rates. Now, tomorrow, right now, the witches' coven is meeting. The witches' coven meeting the Federal Reserve. This is what they're doing behind closed doors. You see that? That's the Federal Reserve right now. I got this snapshot. It was sent to me. Yeah, see that? That's what's going on right now. It's true. But so tomorrow we're going to hear the monetary policy meeting. I do not believe that the Fed is going to cut rates tomorrow, but I do believe the Fed is going to start laying their groundwork and try to sell people as to why they need it. President Trump's calling for lower rates. You got Elizabeth Warren calling for lower rates. You got the beautiful Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, who's nothing but a peddler of U.S. debt. Of course, that's what Treasury secretaries do. Telling the world everything is fine and please buy our debt. Dude, make it up. Make any of this stuff up.
Greg, so listen, you said that the system needs debt to survive. So and I'm being facetious here. Are you telling me that Elon and Trump are lying when they say that they are cutting the fat and they're going to pay down the U.S. debt?
There's no way that's happening, man. If you remember, let's just have a little fun, you and me. All right. Trump's last tenure, he said tariffs were going to shrink the trade deficit. The trade deficit under Trump's last tenure hyperballooned. President Trump also told us last tenure that tariffs were going to pay down the debt. I think he said it in 3 years. The debt hyperballooned, and people still have not learned their lesson, bro. They still believe it. They believe the propaganda. This is the mentality of the people. It's crazy, bro. It's absolutely nuts.
So do you think that a lot of people continue to believe because they prefer illusion to despair?
Yeah, they want to live in their little, their little sheltered world where if you shed a little bit of light on whatever you're talking about, they go absolutely berserk. People want to be kept in the dark. The light is blinding to most people, not to people like you, not to people like me, not to people that follow our work. But a little bit of light is very troublesome for those people who want to exist in a paradigm that has been set up for them that doesn't even exist. It's not real. And the illusion, in my opinion, is going to be kept alive longer via the mechanism of vast debt expansion. People have no idea what's coming. They don't understand. They're going to see what's going to happen here when we start to see debts and deficits continue to balloon. They're going to say, well, hold on a second here. The tariffs are not making us rich. If you recall, President Trump said this during the entire run-up to this election, of course, was that we were going to get rich off he was laughing about it. Oh, let them do this. He never once told his audiences, okay, that maybe it was a possibility that we were going to get reciprocal tariffs back on us here. No, he never said that. He made it seem to the world that tariffs, they were the nations, because that's who pays for it. It's the nations. We're going to make us rich on the back of that. I mean, this is another lie, and it's a deception. And I know where lies come from and deceptions come from, as do you. But this is what comes out of Trump's mouth. In my opinion, in no way, shape, or form is Trump a spokesperson for God Almighty. In fact, I would say it's the polar opposite.
And Greg, how long do you believe that they can keep the markets going? Because every time we think that it's about to go kaboom, they come up with some other thing to push it down the road just a little bit longer. When will we be at that dead end where they cannot kick that can down the road any longer?
Well, what we're going to see here, obviously, is via the mechanism of debt expansion. It could prop up the market. Absolutely has the potential to do that. More debt. That's what we have right now is a market floating on oceans of debt. It's not real. People look at their 401k plans, their investment plans. They think it's real. They see those digits on a screen and they think they're all rich. It's not true. It's not true at all. It's all going to go away. It's all going to go away real fast. When? Dude, I don't know, man. I think it's happening now. Besides the market, which is the deception, look at the stock market. We're doing great. This has been a weapon that's been utilized, forever here. Look at the stock market. We're doing fantastic. That's what Biden told us, right? Remember all that? Our economy is the envy of the world, which wasn't true. Look at the stock market. President Trump every single day during his last tenure. What did the stock market do? What did that stock market do? We're all rich. That's what he was talking about, the people. He was talking about, his friends and the 1% and 2%ers that are actually the entire government right now has been taken over by oligarchs. They're all, we have Trump's sidekick. I don't know who the president is. Is it Elon Musk? as acting president, or is it President Trump? One of these guys is acting president. It seems like Elon Musk to me is the acting president here, the richest man on the planet. It's crazy. At least rich in terms of material wealth. But I think the man is probably the poorest person with regard to real riches, because I believe he is an admitted Satanist. The man has worn a Baphomet costume with an upside down cross on it, and had that on his Twitter feed as his Twitter picture for a year. And it's interesting how the evangelical people are looking towards Elon Musk as a savior. You can't make that up either. You can't do it. And wondering why he's aligned himself with President Trump or vice versa. You have to say that both of these people are on the same team, obviously. So that's what's happening here, unfortunately, bro. People, this is, again, in my opinion, has all been foretold. It's all happening. And, maybe it's just the way it's got to go. The book is, and I think you know what book I'm talking about here. It has told us where we're going, where it's going to go. And that's exactly what it appears to be. And man, look, whatever, man. We just got to maintain our own understanding of this, stay on the right side of it, mentally, physically, obviously, spiritually as well. Realize that their message is not everyone's message here, man. Their message is hate and division. Ours is love and unity. That's what it's all about. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about to me. Henceforth, my Rasta.
And Greg, what about the derivative market? How much has it grown over the last year or so? Because I remember you were saying it was in the quadrillions, and I could not believe it when you told me that that amount. I could not believe it.
What's the next up from that? Quintillion? I don't know what it is. First, here's the situation with the derivative market. It's non-quantifiable. We can all guess and we can all speculate as to the magnitude or the size of the derivative market. First of all, the derivative market is an incredible thing. Most people have no idea what the derivative market is. They hear the word, they don't understand it. Let me just break this down very simply. What the derivative market is nothing but side bets on an underlying asset, whatever that asset might be. It could be the dollar. Let's say, for example, okay, here's an asset, a unit of debt, the dollar. There are side bets on where the dollar may go, higher or lower. Then there's a side bet on a side bet, and a side bet on a side bet on either side. Side bets on side bets, side bets on side bets. Or it could be a particular stock or a company or an ETF or whatever it might be. There's always these derivatives. In other words, a derivative derives value from an underlying asset, but there's not just one level here. There are many, many levels on both sides. So this thing is so out of control. It's insane. And it plays right into the whole mechanism that we've been talking about, how the system is just so twisted and why people can't focus on it. And it's interesting when you hear, for example, someone talk about the face value of the debt or whatever it might be, they don't even talk about the associated derivatives, but it's in the quadrillions and whatever the next step is. I don't know what the next step is. Is it quintillion? I don't know what it is. It's above my pay grade here, bro.
So when it goes boom, what happens?
Okay, well, like I said, we're going to get a lockup of the system. That's the goal here, is to create pandemonium in the streets. First of all, they got to get everyone locked into a particular mentality. And that, again, is hatred and division. God forbid we were told to unify and promote love and oneness. Okay, no, that's God's message. We can't have that message. They can't have God's message. Their message must be the polar opposite. So I think we know where their message comes from here. Understand? Division and hatred, that ain't God's way, man. Unity and love, that's God's way. And unfortunately, that's where we're being pushed here. But it's going to come down to a locking up of the system. Like I said, what all this is going to amount to is an eventual credit freeze. In other words, the flow of credit or debt through the markets worldwide is going to stop. And that's the event that they're going to utilize to say, okay, everyone, this is a solution that we have for you. And people, again, what they're doing here is very diabolic, dude. They are creating dependency on the system, the current system here, and they're not done, in my opinion. That's why it's still going on. Until they have more people fully dependent on the current system, that's when they pull the rug, and that's when the new system will be instituted.
and those caught in between will be devastated.
Well, it's already devastating. People can't survive here. Personal debt, household debt, consumer debt, ballooning debt defaults. People can't pay back loans here. The banks are in so much trouble that it's not even funny. And that's another reason why President Trump has been calling for deregulation, deregulation, deregulation. Why he got Michelle Bowman in here as the watchdog for the Fed, deregulation, deregulation here. The banks have black hole balance sheets, and we're not even allowed to know that. We're not allowed to know which banks are going to fail. I think people need to get their cash out of the commercial banks, put their cash into a credit union. I think these have the best chances of surviving. But I do believe that there's going to be a sacrificial lamb here. I think Bank of America is being set up to fail. Number one, of course, again, they got to present this to the people. When the system fails, they need scapegoats. The scapegoats are being set up here. The scapegoat of Bank of America has been set up a while back. President Trump was told to push a particular agenda with regard to Bank of America. Bank of America's CEO, Brian Moynihan, is a conservative Republican. And they're trying to sell people the idea that this bank here is against conservative Republicans. You can't make that up either. Okay. But again, they got to set up the scapegoat and say, okay, everyone, look, that's what they did the last time with Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns and why we bailed them out. Okay, don't worry, people. You're going to bail out these institutions, but we're going to allow two of them to fail. They didn't really fail. What ended up happening with the collapse of Lehman Brothers and Bear was the other Wall Street institutions were able to buy the assets for pennies on the dollar. So all they did was get absorbed into the collective. Now, what's happening here with these banks here who have derivatives, the major institutions, obviously the commercial banks, the investment banks, have derivative exposure that is beyond anyone's wildest dreams. That is obviously playing into what's going on here. And you got, again, the mechanism here of bank deregulation, the Federal Reserve running the show, and we're going to be, of course, be forced to bail it all out yet again. And we're bailing it out right now. Everything that President Trump has done with regard to the financial system, the Federal Reserve and the banks, has done nothing but empower them. We're not taking their power away. We're making them much stronger. And who's paying for it? We are. But people can't see that either. It's incredible. It's really incredible.
So isn't that expanding the debt every time the government bails out the banks? Isn't that expanding the debt also?
Of course it is. Any mechanism, like, for example, a war we're seeing right now, a president, for example, calling for lower rates, it means the Federal Reserve gets to devalue the currency, which is their goal. For 10 years, I've been telling people that central banks are working to see which one of them can suck the purchasing power of their currency out faster. And they're laughing. They're laughing as the people suffer. We can't have, I don't understand how they can put this together. In order to have a strong, look, there are only two, and I mean this, and I urge people to look this up. In finance and economics, there are two fundamental truths. To have a strong economy, you need a strong currency. Does that sound about right? To have a strong currency, you need a corresponding rate of interest high enough to support the purchasing power of the currency. Those are the only two truths that exist, and there's only two in finance and economics. So when you hear a president say, we need a weaker dollar, we need lower rates, you have to understand that either they don't understand the only two fundamental truths that I just told you, or they're working against them because they want to destroy the economy. They want to destroy the middle class in favor of the corporate agenda, because the weaker dollar and, of course, lower rates, which weakens the dollar, is good to fulfill the corporate agenda. It also allows the central banks, in this case, the Federal Reserve, to inflate. Dude, this stuff is so easy to understand, but people don't look into it. It's unfortunate. And I urge people to always do their own research. I can't wait to see the comments that this video is going to get, dude. This is going to start a firestorm. Some of the stuff that we spoke about. And I know that's what you kind of, it's important. This is what we need to push people. I do it all the time. I deliberately push people. First of all, I don't want any weak links in my blog. And I'm sure you don't either here. It's not about how many people are following our work. It's about the right people who understand what's going on here and expect to be attacked. You're going to be attacked. I'm going to be attacked. And the more they attack us, the stronger we become. You understand? They can't attack the message. They're going to attack you and me personally. This is what they resort to these days here. It's an interesting thing. But it's good when they make these bad comments to you, to me. It only helps the algorithm. So I hope that a lot of them try to go after us, because if we're going to get all these bad comments, let them do it, because it helps us. It makes us stronger. Makes them weaker. It makes us stronger. That's why, again, we can't lose, bro. You and me, we've been on the same team. And that's why, look, I don't do too many interviews, as you probably know. You're one of the only other guys. I don't do a lot. I do this because first of all, my time is precious to me. I only want to associate with people who understand things to a higher level. And I think that you're one of them. And I think that the people that follow your work are as well. So together, we're getting stronger, bro. And we're making a positive difference in the world. And that's really all that matters to me.
That's my guy, Greg. Once again on the show, I want to thank Greg for everything. Greg, in closing, do you have anything to say to the people that are listening and that will listen later?
Whatever they're telling you, do the polar opposite, and you're going to be better off, man. I don't know what else to say, because we're being led down a very dangerous pathway. We're nothing but a means to an end, man. We're greasing the wheels with our blood and guts and hopes and dreams. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take it down. We'll take it back. It's just unfortunately taking the longer road, but we'll get there. We definitely will.
Greg, I'm going to send you the link to the video in a few minutes. Everybody, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me, for giving me your time, because you did not have to do this. And as I always say, do right by others, not because there's some material gain or some praise behind it. Do right by others because it's the right and the humane thing to do. And remember that if you love truth, I love you. But remember that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but remember to always stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. And I thank you, Greg. We're out of here. Peace, everybody. Thank you so much.
Told you to walk away. That was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost.